Can I introduce our next speaker, Sarah Bassett, who heads up WA and SA for AWS, a room full of acronyms, as well as the resources vertical nationally. Here to give us her word from the front line of what AWS are engaged with and how to start small and scale fast.
Gosh, it's so great to be here. On one hand, what an inspiring morning, and it's such a privilege to be partnering with Showcase SA. On the other hand, a bit of imposter syndrome following that amazing lineup of speakers. So we've got this honorary sponsorship slot, really, and I thought, what's the best way to use the next 20 minutes to address a full room and an engaging audience? And so I'll just spend a little bit of time, probably +1ing on some of the great nuggets that came out this morning, because we share a lot of the same views at Amazon. But more importantly, it's a great privilege to work with a myriad of customers, from startups to large enterprises and governments around the world. And we're constantly learning from our customers and our partners. So it's a chance just to give that vantage point, what we're observing, what's working, what's not, what are the patterns that we get to see by engaging across all these different customers. I've titled the presentation Democratization of AI, both with kind of two respects. One is to say that we're observing that it's becoming more and more commonly used across organization. There's this groundswell of interest and usability across businesses, but also maybe a bit of a call to action. How are you, within your organization, going to be promoting the use of AI and machine learning, and really kind of debunking some of the fear or the complexity around it? Before I jump in, I'll just, by way of introduction, Sarah Bassett, been in Amazon for 4 years, a little bit over 4 years. Came to Australia in 2012 and never left, so thanks for having me. It's a wonderful place to be. Based in Perth, live there with my husband and 3 daughters, and have had the privilege of growing the Amazon Web Services team across both Perth and Adelaide over the past few years. We've got a growing team in Adelaide. We're continually inspired within our own team here, but across the globe, by the innovation coming out of Adelaide. I really have noticed nothing like it wherever else we go. And I think, all the great collaboration this morning about how we continue to fan that flame, but also how we maybe get a little bit more bold about pointing out what's going on here, and the great network and collaboration between academia and enterprises and startups is just amazing. So we are just really privileged to be a part of that. There are quite a few AWS team members around the room. I think most of them are properly branded, but maybe they just give a little wave. I think there might be one at your table. Like, they seem to be distributed throughout. There's Ian in the back. So hopefully when there's opportunity to network and chat, you can spark up a conversation with them as well if there's anything from this short presentation that piques your interest. So we'll go ahead and just jump in here. As I mentioned, really talking about the democratization of AI, and again, really speaking from our experience with customers. So I think hands down, we believe machine learning is probably the most disruptive technology of our generation. And we are starting to see more and more use of it in the core business operations of our customers. So anything from that personalized customer experience, when you think about you're ordering pizza, through to personalized pharmaceuticals. So Matt mentioned that this morning. I think there may be a little bit of AWS machine learning behind those, behind Adam's sneakers, and making those customizable on the website as well. And also, some great things happening in the world of sport, and I think we'll hear more about that later today as well. But more importantly, what to point out is there's a myriad of case studies and great success we're seeing around the use of machine learning, but it's really now at the core of a lot of our customers' business, and it's really changing the way that they're able to compete in the marketplace, and also the way they can change their end users' customer experience. We see kind of a common themes. I'm probably preaching to the choir here when I talk about the why and the business impact behind machine learning. But again, with over 100,000 customers leveraging our toolkit and an amazing partner network as well, we really see these same emerging themes coming out time and time again. I mean, operational efficiency or optimizing efficiency is very high on the list. I was chatting with someone yesterday. You won't necessarily see, your machine learning toolkit on your balance sheet, but it's absolutely helping sweat your assets. It's absolutely helping with your capital utilization. So really being able to tie that innovation around the use of ML to how that's reflecting on your balance sheet is key. Data-driven decisions, smarter, faster decision-making, augmenting the human logic and nature and the subject matter expertise within your organization with AI/ML is huge. Adding capabilities to existing products, right? Whether that's either being really smart and predictive about what you're seeing from buying behaviors from customers, or whether that's just experimenting and adding an element of automation to your existing product line or service, whatever that may be. And then more importantly, creating new channels, new opportunities for services and for go-to-market options. So those are the pervasive themes that we see time and time again as the why and the sense of urgency around moving towards AI/ML as part of your strategy. You heard from Anton already. We're so privileged to be growing the team alongside Anton's team here as well. We just get close to that flame, that brain power that's coming out of that amazing team of data scientists. They would just be one team among many within Amazon. As you heard Anton mention, everything that Amazon does, every part of the Amazon business is really fueled by machine learning. In fact, there's actually an imperative internally to make sure that we're checking for opportunities to add machine learning to improve processes. Any Amazon customers in the audience in some form or fashion may have come across some of these ways that you can see our investment in machine learning playing out. Thousands of products sold per minute on Amazon.com, highly automated in process. There's a snapshot here of one of our fulfillment centers, which is a combination of science and art and human and process and automation as well. So we have multiple generations of our fulfillment center that engages and enhances workflows through computer vision and robotics, and is constantly looking at optimization there. We have natural language processing through our voice assistant Alexa, through our Echo devices, and we're also constantly experimenting with autonomous flight and other areas to improve our delivery. And so it really is inherent to our business, pan-Amazon, and it probably goes without saying that that has then fueled some innovation on the web services side of the business, but we also get fueled by customers outside of Amazon.com as well. So why all the momentum, and why are we seeing this groundswell? And this is just sort of setting the stage directionally as to what we're seeing in terms of the explosion of innovation in AI/ML in particular. I think, obviously it's the promise of what it can deliver to the business. We already covered that. We heard some amazing stories. The proof is in the pudding from the anecdotes this morning, whether it's through advertising or distribution, winemaking, predictive analysis around weather patterns, et cetera. Also, though, the barriers to entry have been lowered quite significantly. So the ability to leverage machine learning through such innovative partners as we heard from this morning, to be able to apply that to your business today is becoming more and more common. And so it's no longer some bespoke, high science, out of reach technology. And then also I would, of course, have to put a little bit of a plug in there for cloud, but it is an infrastructure-intensive and compute-intensive, problem that you're usually solving. And so the ability to provision these services and the power behind it through cloud, pay as you go, turn it off when you're finished, is also another way to just really create that momentum and that adoption around this space. So then we think, So if it's becoming, if it's gaining so much momentum that we feel like it's getting closer to reality, it's something that we have to think about within our businesses to stay competitive and to be able to grow and not be disrupted ourselves. How do we go about it? So the next couple slides are really just trying to set the stage a bit for how we think about innovation around the space within AWS. And so hopefully this kind of resonates with some of you. I am not the person to click through each of these boxes that you're seeing here behind me. But what this is really pulling on is, look, this is a white paper from a couple years ago now, but it's really laying out the fact that there's actually not just machine learning code that needs to be executed, but there's machine learning ops. So similar to DevOps, if you're familiar around that, there's a complete workload that needs to be considered when you're embarking on a machine learning venture within your organization. And so that's just to say that there's things like, you need data. You need a lot of data. You're going to need some governance and some frameworks, and you're going to need some processes around that. So that's just the absolute reality of being able to leverage AI/ML within your business. The other sort of reality around this groundswell of momentum and this keener interest and accessibility around the space is that you've got a couple different personas that are going to be engaging with this technology. So this is probably a fairly simplistic view, but just at this high level for today, you've got your credentialed data scientist, your machine learning builders, Anton's team, credentialed in this space, PhDs. These are hot commodities, right? These are the resources that everyone will be fighting for, getting paid premium wages for the ability for them to make an impact at scale. A lot of these individuals, and just to generalize, so bear with me, will really enjoy those do-it-yourself machine learning environments and frameworks, and they will probably pioneer and continue to develop in these fully managed environments. You also have some of your citizen data scientists. So we are seeing this more and more, and this is really, again, behind this terminology around democratizing AI. So call them aspirants, call them citizen data scientists. These individuals are probably less credentialed in terms of formal education or certification, but they have subject matter expertise, they are data fluent, and they can really benefit by marrying up the application of machine learning and machine learning services, AI services, with an existing business problem. So you need these people in your business as well, right? If the idea is to really scale with AI/ML, you're going to need both. And as a result, we're seeing innovation in the industry to accommodate both of these types of personas. And I think many organizations, depending on your size, will have both. And so it's really important to consider how you're making your choices in this area. So our suggestion is to you is you don't have to reinvent the wheel to be able to take advantage of what is out there today. This is kind of a laundry list, if you will, of AWS's services in this space. And so I will not try to read out to you what each of these microservices are. However, what I will point out is that we need to be catering to both of those personas. At the bottom level here, we need to be able to make sure we are accommodating and serving those ML frameworks, right? So for those builders, for those credentialed data scientists, we need that ability for them to build and continue to have their bespoke solutions. We're also seeing that once that is becoming more commonplace in an organization, in fact, this happened at Amazon, there might be some repeatable patterns or some transfer of knowledge or the need to have a collection of models that will allow you then to share that knowledge to other analogous business problems or to take it with you when you work on your next challenge. And so there's something we have called SageMaker, which allows you to build and train models and kind of keep that as a collection of IP within your organization. And then finally, really at the top, this is again maybe more relevant to those citizen data scientists or those aspirants, but is also probably still relevant to our credentialed data scientists, is is AI services. So what we're seeing here is more fully formed solutions that can be applied today to your areas of business. And these aren't meant to be diminished in their impact at all. So if you take a customer like NIB, who's an insurance company, they leveraged a tool called TextTrack to be able to optimize their claims processing system and ultimately improved efficiency dramatically with a more personalized experience for their end users. And that was a fully packaged solution without needing the depth of a machine learning data scientist behind it. So I think we will continue to see a lot of, an explosion in this space. We saw some this morning, some great fully formed solutions that you can apply to your business today. But don't take my word for it. I'd highly encourage you, just like we heard already today, and I'm sure we'll hear throughout the afternoon, is it's really important to hear the stories of how people are applying machine learning to the core of their business. So there are some case studies out on our website. I'd encourage you to check those out. As always, we believe the voice of the customer speaks much louder than the voice of the service provider. And so if any of these interest you, I'd grab one of the AWS folks and they can connect you with the customer as well to have a direct conversation. It wouldn't be an Amazon presentation if I didn't slightly touch on culture. This is something we see time and time again. It's been important learning for us as our own company, and it's something that we see as a real opportunity for a lot of customers trying to embrace any technology, but in particular, really disruptive technology like AI ML. And what we're seeing more and more is that it shouldn't be a science project, it shouldn't be some kind of bespoke solution that's kept away in sort of experimentation mode, that the power of machine learning is really when it's applied across the enterprise. And that's not just talking about deploying it and adopting across the enterprise, that's talking about thinking about how you can apply it across the enterprise. So that's finding, taking a look at your value chain around, winemaking and saying, hey, this is great, we've solved this problem on the whiteboards and the spreadsheets before, but we actually need to embrace technology. We need to embrace machine learning. And so it's having that bold leader level, top-down decision to be curious about it and be willing to experiment. I'm sure people have seen across the chasm chart more times than they can count, but I think the call out here from an HBR article that's now from 2019 is that really only 8% of the firms that are engaging in really widespread support for AI ML. So I don't know about you, but I've had a few conversations with CIOs, CTOs over the years who have said, oh my gosh, my CEO went to a conference and now he wants us to do AI ML. Or, the board of directors, read this book and now they're all fired up about AI ML. And so that might be the kernel that gets things started, but it absolutely has to permeate through the leadership structure. It can't just be, a fleeting idea. And so, again, humbly, we get to learn a lot from watching customers go through this and looking internally how we've evolved as well. And it's not rocket science, so to speak, in that, there's the foundational elements hold really true. Resourcing is critical. Skills, not only hiring and attracting talent by working on the latest and greatest tech, but also investing in your current team members. I think I've seen a lot of compelling combinations of upskilling and cross-skilling within organizations today, whether that be a geophysicist, now getting upskilled in some data science, or whether that's a nurse practitioner trying to understand more and more about AI. The cross-skilling, the upskilling is a really powerful combination, and then of course attracting that next generation as well. But really thinking about the future skills in the organization that will need to drive that. In the technology space, there's some key decisions to make around how you go about doing things, and so that's you need to be really mindful about that. And I guess the The suggestion there is, we will talk a little bit about this at the end here, but start small, scale fast. Start with an experiment that really resonates. And then this does take a bit of governance and strategic oversight, just like anything in terms of technology adoption. You want the ability to move fast, and in order to do that with limited risk and to have continuity, you want to have some great guidelines, governance, guardrails, and there's lots of best practices around this as well. So again, you're not reinventing the wheel. So I think I'll be reiterating, I think Matt said it, I think a few others said it. We are a big fan of starting small and scaling fast. We like to think really big within Amazon, but we think you've got to prove that, and you've got to inform that think big vision time and time again through that iteration. So start with that machine learning, curiosity, that mindset and culture. Think about how to enable the teams for the mission. That might be a smaller team just to start based on a business problem you've identified. There's lots of ways to get people comfortable with a new skill set. It needs data. This topic, this AI ML, it actually needs a lot of data source, and to the points made by earlier speakers, some of that data isn't always perfect and pristine, so there may be some work you need to do there as well, but you need to get your data organized to be able to really harness it for the next step. Again, we've beaten this drum a bit. Choose the right first project. I think Matt had some really good pointers on this. Make it meaningful, make it a business problem someone cares about. Make sure that there's people around that are invested in finding an answer, because it's the output of that, experiment or that proof of concept or that MVP that will be the catalyst for what's next. And I've seen this explode at our customers as well. It spreads like fire. Well, if we could do this, here's 20 other ideas I could think of right now where we could apply this. And then, those choices on the earlier slide, some of the decisions you'll make about your people, about the governance, and about your platform will allow you to scale at immense speed. So just a few tips and tricks. It's really been a privilege to be part of this lineup, and I'm super excited for this afternoon as well. And thanks so much for your attention.